When I refused to pay for my husband's family vacation, they voted to replace me. The words still burn, sharp as a slap. Even now, weeks later, as I sit in our too-quiet living room in suburban Ohio, staring at the framed photo of me and Jake from our honeymoon in Asheville. Back then, his smile felt like home. Now, it's a reminder of how fast loyalty can crumble when money's on the table. Let me back up. I'm Lauren, 32, a project manager at a mid-sized tech firm. I pull in a decent salary, $95K a year, enough to cover our mortgage, Jake's student loans, and the occasional splurge on a new hiking backpack or a weekend getaway. Jake, 34, is a high school history teacher. He loves his job, but it pays peanuts, $52K, barely enough to dent our shared expenses. We've always split things 60-40, my share heavier because I earn more. It's never been a problem, or so I thought. Jake's family is intense. His parents, Barb and Tom, are retired, living off a modest pension in a small house outside Cincinnati. His older sister, Kelly, 37, is a part-time yoga instructor with 2 kids and a husband. Mike, who's a mechanic. They're not broke, but they're not flush either. Every year, the whole clan, parents, Jake, Kelly, Mike, and the kids, takes a family vacation. It's a tradition, one Jake gushes about like it's sacred. Think rented beach houses in Myrtle Beach or cabins in the Smoky Mountains. Nice, but not extravagant. Historically, everyone chips in what they can, and it balances out. This year, though, things got weird. Back in January, Barb called a family meeting over Zoom. I was in the kitchen, half listening, chopping carrots for dinner, while Jake sat at the dining table, laptop open. Barb announced the plan, a week-long trip to a lakefront Airbnb in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. "It's stunning," she said, sharing her screen with photos of a sprawling house, all glass and cedar, with a private dock and a hot tub. My first thought was, that looks pricey. My second was, why is she so excited? Then came the bombshell. "We've crunched the numbers," Barb said, her voice sugary but firm. "The rental's $6,500 for the week, plus groceries, gas, and activities. Split 5 ways, me and Tom, Kelly and Mike, Jake and Lauren, and a little from the kids' savings. It's about $1,500 per couple." I froze, knife hovering over the cutting board. 5 ways? The kids' savings were pennies, and Barb and Tom's share was always symbolic. They'd toss in $200 and call it a day. Kelly and Mike were perpetually tight. That left us, Jake and me, to cover the lion's share. I glanced at Jake, expecting him to push back. He didn't. He just nodded. Scribbling notes like this was a pop quiz he'd ace. I cleared my throat. "Barb, that's a lot. Can we talk budget? Maybe find a cheaper place?" Her smile tightened. "Oh, Lauren, it's a special year. Our 40th anniversary. We deserve this." Kelly chimed in. "Yeah, it's not that much when you split it." Mike grunted agreement. Jake stayed silent. That night, I cornered Jake in our bedroom. "We can't afford $3,000, I said, keeping my voice low. "That's a new furnace, or half my car loan." He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "It's family. Lore. It's what we do." I bristled. "What we do? I've paid for half these trips since we got married. I'm not a bank." He looked wounded, like I'd insulted his mom's meatloaf. "It's not about the money," he said. "It's about memories." I wanted to scream. Memories don't pay bills. Over the next month, the pressure built. Barb sent daily texts, links to kayaking tours, winery visits, a group fishing charter that cost $800. Kelly posted in the family group chat about matching t-shirts for the kids. Tom emailed Jake a spreadsheet titled Vacation Costs, with our names bolded next to $3,200. I felt like I was drowning. Jake, meanwhile, acted like it was no big deal. "We'll figure it out," I thought he'd say, kissing my forehead, but "we" meant me. Finally, In March, I snapped. Another Zoom call, this time to finalize plans. Barb was mid-sentence about a pontoon boat rental when I interrupted. "I'm not paying," I said, my voice steady but loud. Silence. Jake's eyes widened. Barb blinked, like I'd spoken in tongues. "What do you mean, Lauren?" she asked, her tone icy. I took a breath. "I mean, I'm not covering $3,000. We can't afford it. If you want this trip, find a cheaper place or split it fairly." Kelly laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Fairly? You make way more than us. Your family. You're supposed to help." Mike muttered something about selfishness. Tom just shook his head. Jake finally spoke. "Lore, can we talk about this later?" His voice was pleading, but I was done. "No, Jake, I'm not bankrolling this. If you want to go, you figure it out." I left the call, my heart pounding. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. A week later, Jake came home from a guys' night with Mike, his face pale. He sat me down on the couch, hands fidgeting. "They had a family meeting," he said, barely meeting my eyes. "Without you." My stomach dropped. "And?" I asked. He swallowed. "They voted to replace you on the trip. They invited Mike's cousin, Tara. She's single, makes good money, and she's happy to pitch in." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. There wasn't one. His family, my family, or so I'd thought, had decided I was expendable because I wouldn't pay. I didn't cry. Not then. I just felt cold, like the air had been sucked out of the room. "And you let them?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Jake looked away. "I didn't know how to stop it," he said. That was worse than the vote itself. My husband, the man who'd vowed to stand by me, had stood silent while his family wrote me off. Now, here I am, replaying it all, wondering where I fit in a marriage where family means everyone but me. I haven't spoken to Barb or Kelly since. Jake's been tiptoeing around, mumbling apologies, but he's still planning to go on the trip. Without me. And Tara? She's already in the group chat, gushing about the lake. I don't know what hurts more, being replaced or knowing Jake's okay with it. The days after Jake's bombshell about being replaced felt like wading through quicksand. Every step was heavy. Every glance at him a reminder of the fracture in our marriage, our suburban Ohio home, once a cozy haven with its sage green walls and mismatched thrift store furniture, now felt like a stage for a play I didn't audition for. I'd catch myself staring at the coffee maker, wondering how we'd gone from planning a life together to me being voted off his family's island. Jake tried to smooth things over, but his efforts were clumsy, like he was reading from a script he didn't believe. "Lore, I'm not okay with it," he said one morning, hovering near the kitchen island as I poured my second coffee. His voice was soft, pleading, but his eyes darted to the floor. I didn't know how to fight them without making it worse." I set my mug down, harder than I meant to. "Worse for who? Jake, them, or you?" He flinched but didn't answer. That silence was louder than any apology. I stopped checking the family group chat. The notifications piled up. Kelly posting about sunscreen brands, Barb sharing a recipe for lake house tacos, Tara chiming in with emojis and exclamation points. Each ping was a needle, a reminder that they were moving on without me. Jake, though, stayed glued to his phone, typing responses I never saw. When I asked what he was saying, he'd shrug. "Just logistics. Boring stuff." But I saw the way his shoulders relaxed when he texted them, the way he smiled at his screen. He was still in their orbit, while I was drifting further out. Work became my escape. I buried myself in spreadsheets, meetings, and late-night emails at the tech firm. My boss, Priya, noticed the extra hours. "Lauren, you're killing it," she said during a one-on-one, her voice warm but curious. "Everything okay at home?" I forced a smile. "Just keeping busy." She didn't push, but her raised eyebrow told me she wasn't buying it. At least at work. I was valued for what I did, not what I could pay for. The tension at home kept climbing. One night, I found Jake in the living room, laptop open to the Airbnb listing for the Michigan Lake House. My stomach twisted. "You're still going?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. He closed the laptop. Too fast. "I haven't decided," he said, but his tone was defensive, like I'd caught him stealing. "It's not about you, Lore. It's about family." I laughed, a bitter sound that startled us both. "Family? The ones who voted me out? Or Tara? The shiny new upgrade?" His face reddened. "That's not fair. Tara's just helping out." I crossed my arms. "Helping out? Right. And you're fine with her taking my place?" He stood, pacing. "It's not about replacing you. It's about keeping the peace." I wanted to scream that I was his peace, his wife, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I walked away. The next blow came from an unexpected corner. My best friend, Mia. We met for drinks at a dive bar in Columbus, a sticky-floored joint with neon signs and a jukebox blaring Springsteen. Mia, blunt as ever, swirled her gin and tonic, her dark curls bouncing as she leaned in. "Okay, spill. You've been a ghost lately." I told her everything, the vacation costs, the vote, Tara, Jake's spinelessness. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "Hold up, Jake's going on this trip? After they pulled that?" I nodded, sipping my beer to avoid her stare. She slammed her glass down. "Lauren, that's not just a red flag. That's a freaking siren. You need to confront him, like, yesterday." I shrugged, picking at the label on my bottle. "What's the point? He's already chosen them." Mia grabbed my hand. "Then make him choose. Don't let him coast. You're worth more than this." Her words lit a spark. I'd been simmering, swallowing my anger to keep the peace, but Mia was right. I deserved better. The next evening, I waited for Jake to get home from school. He walked in, tie loosened, looking exhausted. I didn't care. "We need to talk," I said, standing in the hallway, blocking his path to the couch. He sighed, dropping his bag. "Can it wait? Rough day." I shook my head. "No, it's about the trip. And us." His jaw tightened, but he followed me to the dining table. I didn't hold back. "I'm your wife. Jake, not your ATM, not some optional add-on your family can swap out when I don't play along. They disrespected me, and you let them? Now you're planning to go on this trip like it's nothing. How am I supposed to trust you?" My voice cracked, but I kept going. "Do you even see me as your partner? Or am I just here to pay the bills and shut up?" He stared at the table, tracing a scratch in the wood. "You're blowing this out of proportion," he said finally, his voice low. "It's one trip. I'm not choosing them over you." I leaned forward, forcing him to meet my eyes. "You already did. When you stayed quiet. When you let them invite Tara. Every time you text them about that damn lake house, you're choosing them." He stood, chair scraping the floor. "What do you want me to do, Lauren? Cut them off? They're my family!" His voice rose, a mix of frustration and guilt. I matched his volume. "And I'm your wife. Where's my vote? Where's my place?" We were shouting now, something we'd never done in 5 years of marriage. He threw up his hands. "I don't know, okay? I don't know how to fix this." He stormed out, grabbing his keys. The front door slammed, and I was alone again, my heart racing, tears finally spilling over. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, scrolling through old photos on my phone, us hiking in Hocking Hills, laughing at a county fair, kissing under Christmas lights. Each memory felt like a lie. When Jake came back at 2 a.m., he didn't speak. He went straight to the guest room. The next morning, I found a post-it on the fridge. "Need space. Staying at Mike's for a bit." No apology. No explanation. Just gone. Now, I'm left with a house full of echoes and a marriage hanging by a thread. Mia's words keep looping in my head. Make him choose. But what if he already has? The trip is 2 weeks away, and I'm running out of time to decide my next move. Do I fight for us, or do I let him go to that lake house, and maybe out of my life for good? Jake's post-it note on the fridge, needs space, staying at Mike's for a bit, sat there like a taunt, staring at me every time I opened the door for milk or leftovers. It had been 5 days since he left, and our suburban Ohio house felt like a museum of our marriage. Every photo, every knick-knack, a relic of a life I wasn't sure we still shared. I hadn't texted him, and he hadn't reached out either. The silence was deafening, but it gave me space to think, really think, about what I wanted. Mia's words echoed, make him choose. But I was starting to wonder if the choice was mine, not his. Work kept me sane, or at least distracted. I threw myself into a new project, leading a team to overhaul a client's database. The late nights at the tech firm, the hum of my laptop, the ping of Slack messages. It was a world where I had control, where my value didn't hinge on my wallet or my husband's backbone. But even that wasn't enough to drown out the ache. The Michigan trip was 1 week away, and I could feel it looming like a storm cloud. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. On Friday night, I was sprawled on the couch, half watching a true crime doc, when my phone buzzed. A text from Kelly, Jake's sister. My first instinct was to ignore it. Her last words to me were that bitter laugh, calling me selfish. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Lauren, we need to talk. Can you meet me tomorrow? Coffee at Brewed Awakening, 10 a.m., no family, just us. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Why now? Was this a trap? Another chance to guilt me into footing the bill? Or was Kelly, of all people, having a change of heart? I typed back, keeping it short. Fine, I'll be there. No emojis, no warmth. If she wanted to play nice, she'd have to earn it. Brewed Awakening was a hipster coffee shop in downtown Columbus, all exposed brick and overpriced lattes. I got there early, snagging a corner table by the window. My stomach was in knots, but I wasn't about to let Kelly see me sweat. She walked in at 10:05, her yoga teacher ponytail bouncing, her face a mix of nerves and defiance. She slid into the chair across from me, clutching a reusable tumbler like a shield. Thanks for coming, she said, her voice softer than I expected. I nodded, sipping my black coffee. What's this about, Kelly? No point in small talk. She'd laughed in my face, and I wasn't here to braid her hair. She took a deep breath, eyes darting to the table. I owe you an apology, for the Zoom call, for everything. I blinked, caught off guard. Kelly, Queen of Snark, apologizing? I leaned back, arms crossed. Go on. It was wrong, what we did, she said, her words rushing out. The vote, inviting Tara, all of it. I was pissed when you said you wouldn't pay, but not because I thought you were selfish. I was jealous. You and Jake. You've got your careers, your house, no kids dragging you down. Mike and I are barely scraping by, and Mom and Dad's anniversary felt like this big thing we had to make perfect. I took it out on you. That wasn't fair. I stared at her, processing. Jealousy? That hadn't crossed my mind. I'd always seen Kelly as the golden child, the one Barb doted on, the one Jake adored. But here she was, admitting she envied me. I felt a flicker of sympathy, but it didn't erase the sting. You didn't just take it out on me, Kelly. You voted me out, like I was nothing, and Jake didn't stop you. It is fiercely. Her face crumpled. I know. He was spineless. I told him that yesterday. We fought about it. My heart skipped. You fought with Jake? She nodded, sipping her tumbler. Yeah, I called him out for letting Mom push the Tara thing. He got defensive, said he was stuck in the middle. I told him there's no middle when it comes to his wife. He didn't like that. I leaned forward, my coffee forgotten. What's going on? Kelly? Why are you telling me this now? She hesitated, then met my eyes. Because I'm not going on the trip. I pulled out. Mike's pissed. Mom's livid. But I'm done. This whole thing's toxic. And I heard Jake's thinking of pulling out too. He's been crashing at our place, and he's a mess. Lauren, he knows he screwed up. My mind reeled. Jake? A mess? Thinking of bailing on the sacred family vacation? It didn't add up. The man who'd clung to family tradition like a life raft was wavering? I wanted to believe it, but trust was a currency I was running low on. Why should I believe you? I asked, my voice sharp. You're the one who laughed when I said no. You called me selfish. Kelly flinched. I know. I was awful. I can't take it back. But I'm trying to make it right. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I thought you should know. Jake's struggling. He loves you, even if he's too dumb to show it. And Tara, she's not what you think. She's just a pawn. Mom's idea, not Jake's. I sat back, my head spinning. Barb's idea. Of course. Barb, the puppet master, pulling strings while Jake stood by. Too weak to cut them, but Kelly's defection, Jake's doubts. It was a crack in the family's united front. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of power, like I wasn't just the victim in this drama. We talked a bit longer, mostly about the trip's fallout. Kelly admitted the family was fracturing, Mike was siding with Barb, Tom was checked out, and Tara was oblivious, thinking she'd scored a free vacation. When we parted, Kelly hugged me, awkward and brief. I hope you and Jake figure it out, she said. I didn't hug back, but I nodded. Me too. Driving home, I felt a storm of emotions, anger, hope, betrayal, resolve. Kelly's words had shifted something. Jake was faltering. But was it enough? I needed to see him, to hear it from his mouth. I texted him short and direct. We need to talk. Come home, tonight. No response, but I knew he'd seen it. That evening, I sat in the living room, the same spot where he'd dropped the replace bomb weeks ago. The door opened at 9:09 p.m. Jake walked in, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Dark circles, rumpled shirt, his dark hair a mess. He stopped when he saw me, hands shoved in his pockets. Lore, he started, voice hoarse. I'm sorry, I held up a hand. Don't. Just tell me one thing. Are you going on that trip? He swallowed, eyes locked on mine. For the first time, I saw something raw, something real. No, he said. I'm not going. I didn't know whether to cry or scream. It was a start, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. Then sit down, I said, my voice steady. We've got a lot to fix. Jake sat across from me in our living room, the air between us thick with 5 years of promises and weeks of betrayal. His words, I'm not going, hung there, a lifeline I wanted to grab but didn't fully trust. Our suburban Ohio home, with its creaky floors and faded couch, felt like a battlefield. And this was our last stand. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, and looked him in the eye. Okay, Jake, you're not going, but that doesn't fix this. You let your family erase me. You walked out. Why should I believe you're all in now? He rubbed his face, exhaustion etched into every line. I know I messed up. Lore, I was weak. I thought I could keep everyone happy. Mom, Kelly, you, and I ended up hurting you most. His voice cracked, and for the first time in weeks, I saw the Jake I fell in love with, the one who'd cry at cheesy rom-coms and leave me goofy notes in my lunch bag. But love wasn't enough anymore. I needed more than tears. Words are cheap, I said, my voice steady despite the lump in my throat. You stood by while they voted me out. You let Tara waltz in. You left me here alone with a post-it. What's different now? What's stopping you from folding the next time Barb snaps her fingers? He flinched, but I didn't back down. Mia's advice rang in my head. You're worth more than this. Damn right I was. Jake took a shaky breath. I talked to Mom, yesterday, after Kelly bailed. I told her the trip was off unless you were part of it. She didn't take it well. My eyebrows shot up. Barb, the queen of family vacations, backed into a corner? What did she say? I asked, skeptical. He grimaced. She called me ungrateful, said I was ruining their anniversary, but I held my ground. I said you're my wife, my priority. If they can't respect that, I'm done with these trips, for good. I stared at him, searching for a lie, but his eyes were clear. Raw. This was new. Jake standing up to Barb, risking the family tradition he'd clung to like gospel. And Kelly? I asked. She's out too, he said. She told me about your coffee shop talk, said she was ashamed of how she acted. Mike's still going, with Tara and the kids, but Mom and Dad are waffling. The whole thing's falling apart. A small, bitter part of me felt vindicated. The lake house fantasy was crumbling, and I hadn't paid a dime. But this wasn't about winning. It was about us. Jake, I need to know you'll choose me, not just today, but every time. I can't live wondering when your family's next vote will kick me out. My voice broke, and I hated it, but I let the tears come. He moved to the couch, sitting close but not touching, like he was afraid I'd bolt. I choose you, he said, voice low but firm. I was an idiot, trying to play peacekeeper. I see it now. You're my family. Laur, I'll spend the rest of my life proving it, if you'll let me. Those words hit hard, but trust is a slow rebuild. We talked for hours, peeling back layers of resentment and fear. I told him how his silence made me feel invisible, how Tara's name in the group chat was a knife in my gut. He admitted he'd been scared of losing his parents' approval, of breaking the family mold. It wasn't an excuse, but it was honest. By midnight, we were both wrecked. But something had shifted, not fixed, not yet, but cracked open, ready for repair. The next week was a blur of small steps. Jake moved back home, sleeping in our bed, not the guest room. He deleted the family group chat from his phone, a symbolic middle finger to Barb's control. We started couples counseling, recommended by Priya, who'd become a quiet cheerleader after I confided in her. The therapist, a no-nonsense woman named Dr. Ellis, didn't let Jake off easy. You broke a vow, she told him in our first session, not with infidelity, but with neglect. Rebuild it with actions, not promises. He nodded, jaw tight, and I felt a flicker of hope. The Michigan trip happened without us, or Kelly. From what I heard, it was a disaster. Barb and Tom went, but Mike and Tara bickered. The kids whined, and the perfect lake house had a leaky roof. I didn't gloat, but I didn't cry for them either. Instead, Jake and I spent that week in Asheville, revisiting our honeymoon spot. We hiked the Blue Ridge trails, ate greasy diner food, and really talked about our future. No family, no drama, just us. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Barb called Jake a month later, her tone clipped, demanding he get over the vacation fight. He shut her down, saying he'd talk when she apologized to me. She hasn't yet. Kelly, though, sent me a long email, owning her role and asking to rebuild. I haven't replied, but I'm thinking about it. Forgiveness is a choice, not an obligation. Now, 6 months later, Jake and I are stronger but not unscathed. Counseling's helped us set boundaries, his family's on a tight leash, and our finances are split fairly. No more 60-40 guilt trips. I'm not the same Lauren who chopped carrots and swallowed her anger. I'm louder, fiercer, and unapologetic about my worth. Jake's learning to match that energy, step by step. This mess taught me something. Family isn't blood or tradition. It's the people who fight for you, who see you when the votes are cast. Jake's earning his place back in mine, and I'm choosing myself every damn day. Thanks for reading, you beautiful chaos lovers. This was a wild ride to share. Drop a comment. What would you have done? Like, share, or tell me I'm crazy for giving Jake a shot. Your thoughts keep me going.